What if one small act could change a life? What if your everyday purchases could support a cause? Join me for a special 3-hour podcast as we introduce incredible giving partners. Hear inspiring stories. Learn how you can shop with a purpose. And be part of a movement that turns kindness into action. Tune in, ask questions, and discover how you can pay it forward today for a better tomorrow. Your customers' everyday purchases can make a difference, whether they're shopping in-store or from a computer, for their family, or just to treat themselves. Why not help them turn those purchases into support for a cause they love? As a community Pay It Forward giving partner, a portion of what they spend goes directly to a mission that touches their heart, at no extra cost to them. With our Shop, Click, and Pick program, it's so easy. They visit our website, choose your business, and make a purchase. Then they simply choose a cause they love, and because they made the purchase from you, they donate to a cause they love. Community Pay It Forward. No one needs to go it alone when we all come together. Whoever said ignorance is bliss never ran a business. Did you know the vast majority of businesses don't make their products accessible to people with disabilities? And did you know that the collective buying power of people with disabilities is over $2 trillion? And if you're a business owner, you need to know how to make your business accessible so you're not leaving this money on the table. I want to tell you about my family partners at Real Life Access, who can help you connect with this underserved market. Real Life Access clients experience 3 amazing things. First, a reputation for accessibility that brings customers to your door. Second, a freedom of worry about legal consequences from not being ADA compliant. And third, increased revenue. Real Life Access team members offer common sense accessibility solutions which won't break your budget. These are business people who understand the challenges faced by all small businesses. They are also people with disabilities who know what it takes to be accessible. Check out their courses, coaching packages, and so much more at reallifeaccess.com. You'll be glad you did. Introducing Shop, Click, and Pick, the simplest way to support those doing good in communities everywhere. We understand that shopping is a necessity, but with a slight adjustment, you can make a huge difference without spending any extra money. Here's how it works. Please visit communitypayitforward.us and navigate to the Find Your Partners tab. Discover our verified giving partners, which are trusted allies ready to meet your needs. Shop with any of the partners that resonate with you. Click a picture of the receipt or invoice, then pick the mission partner you wish to support and use their QR code to send the receipt directly to us. After that, all you have to do is sit back and enjoy your purchases, knowing that you've made a meaningful change for someone in need. Community Pay It Forward amplifies your business's impact by sharing the story of those who require your services, rallying support for those who need us all. Because no one needs to go it alone when we all come together.
Born into a real fight wasn't right. Where can she dream here? Took a hold of her life, left at night, stepping out of her fear.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Community Impact for Wednesday, April 16th. My name is Zach Clayton, President and Founder, Community Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. I want to thank you very much for joining me. Tonight, we've got a very special show based all around our friends and our wonderful mission partners at Confronting Domestic Violence. When I originally set up this show, this interview, I had no idea how involved our first guest was in with confronting domestic violence. But after we started talking, I was, of course, I was introduced into it, and it made sense to me that what we should do is we should go on ahead and play the interview I did with Agape Garcia, the founder of Confronting Domestic Violence, in October. So we're going to introduce you to Nicole Borghi. I don't know why I always want to say Bourget. And she flat out told me that's not it. It's Italian, not French. So, but Nicole Borghi is going to be our very first guest. And then after that, we're going to replay the episode with Agape Garcia, the founder of Confronting Domestic Violence. So that's going to come up in just one moment. Just got a couple things that I really wanted to talk to you about. One of them is we need your help. In 3 weeks' time, we have an app coming out. That app coming out needs your support. We need your help to make sure that we have everything paid up with all of the wonderful things that come with the app. And I could really use your help doing this. And we understand very well, I understand more than most the difficulty of the way it is right now. And I would like to just say this: we want to make sure that you're only going to offer what you can afford to offer. And anything that you give is beyond unbelievable. And we greatly appreciate that. And what I would like to do is offer you a few different gifts for helping support us. And you can find out more about that if you follow the QR code above and support us and help us build stronger the Community Pay It Forward family. Imagine a world where small acts of kindness create a ripple effect of support. A world where financial struggles never stand in the way of hope. That's the vision behind Community Pay It Forward. After a life-changing motorcycle accident, I saw firsthand the devastating impact unexpected financial hardships can have on families. That's why I started Community Pay It Forward, to ensure that no one faces these challenges alone. Community Pay It Forward is more than just a single program. Through community impact and PACT podcasting, people all coming together, we amplify the voices of those making a difference. And with Community Dare to Care, we provide essential goods like clothing, food, and school supplies to those who need it most, to the community, from the community, for the betterment of the community. With Community Pay It Forward, we support families, children, veterans, community projects, no matter where they are. We are not just providing assistance, but hope for a brighter future, not just for people in need, but for businesses that are out there struggling, trying to find a way. We have a plan, but we need your help to reach the next level. We're launching a crowdfunding campaign to raise $500,000. This will allow us to market the Community Pay It Forward program more effectively and to acquire a vehicle for delivering essential goods to families in need in our community, and enhance and strengthen our programs to serve even more people. And as a thank you for your generosity, we're offering special incentives for your contribution. As we tell people all the time, your donation. Imagine a world where small acts of kindness create a ripple effect of support. A world where financial struggles never stand in the way of hope. That's the vision behind Community Pay It Forward. After a life changing motorcycle accident, I saw firsthand the devastating impact unexpected financial hardships can have on families. That's why your business is your American dream. But today, opening your doors comes with tough questions. Will customers walk in? Can I stock the shelves with what they need? Can I afford salaries? And how do I compete with the big box store down the road? That is exactly why we created Community Pay It Forward. Because in hard times, we need stronger communities led by people with bigger hearts. Our Shop, Click, and Pick program makes it simple. Every purchase of a participating small business supports a cause you care about. You shop, others thrive. Even when money is tight, you can still make a huge difference. You're not just shopping, you're supporting families, nonprofits, and your neighbors. That's the power of community. That's the power of the Community Pay It Forward family. When you join the Community Pay It Forward family, you will be seen. You will be remembered, and you will be a hero for people in need everywhere. You, your business, and Community Pay It Forward. Because no one needs to go it alone. When we all very, very honored to introduce you to someone who supports one of the mission partners that we have with confronting domestic violence. And right before we came on, her and I were talking about a conversation that I was having the other day, to where, and it really does show the power of the storytelling. And I was able to tell the story around the creation of confronting domestic violence, and how if she would have had somebody in her situation, it could have helped her out more. That's the reason why she ended up building confronting domestic violence. But Nicole Borgi is my guest. You are creating virtual reality stages, and you're doing this to support programs like confronting domestic violence.
Right, absolutely. So thank you so much for sharing that, Zach. As the chairwoman working along with Miss Garcia, as the executive director who founded Confronting Domestic Violence, there's been a lot of conversations of how do we raise awareness and how do we raise funds and just kind of get excitement going and get confronting domestic violence out there. It's basically branding, right? How do you immersively market? And so that means being the brand, standing by the brand, not just talking about the brand or putting confronting domestic violence on a Facebook page that nobody's looking at, but how do we really get it in the face and make it 360 and real? And in order to do that, in those 360 spaces are virtual reality. And we held a summit in there to raise awareness for confronting domestic violence, and then stepping that into for a cause marketing. So part of everything that I do at the Heart space is going to sponsor and put confronting domestic violence kind of just a tagline, right? So as you have sponsors on a stage, you put confronting domestic violence, just brand it there. And then there's a portion of the proceeds kind of like tithing to them or giving to them. So the cause of the summits are always that. But just that's an underlying cause in that. And it's just been a great journey to get here, to be able to put confronting domestic violence out there and talk about more solutions based. How do we get the victims, the survivors, to bring it up and level it up. But you hear level up, it's such a kitsch word nowadays. But how do you really give a hand up instead of a handout? And there are times you need a handout, especially when we're talking about domestic violence victims and their family. But what do they do when the aftermath is cleared, when the trauma and the triage is done and all that mess is cleaned up to a point? What happens underneath? Because there's still a lot of emotional and financial baggage, if you will, in a simple term, to really clean up in life. And we want to set these people up in life in long term, more into generational wealth. And that's really how this came aboard.
Your program can really support other programs like confronting domestic violence, because confronting domestic violence has a very specific, they have a very specific skill to where they help people get to a place of safety. They don't, that's their goal. They want to take and they want to help you get out of your danger zone, your dangerous spot, and get you to a place that you are safe, that you feel safe, that and make sure that make sure that you're not getting hurt anymore, and if you don't have a spot like what you're doing, a stage like what you're doing, that message can get confused, because unfortunately when it does, well, fortunately or unfortunately, whichever way you look at it, when you do stuff with nonprofits, there are very specific sets of things that they do.
Absolutely. Each nonprofit has their own way of support. But in the larger picture, not only that, and a particular thing or person or type of person or culture, or, give you maybe a dog or a cat that they sponsor, or a human being in our case. But when you do that, there is specifics and there's guidelines you have to stay within, because it's like you see on the news, you see there's a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of politics. And to stay away from that, having been in that to some realm, working with part of the government and government contracts, it gets to be really messy. The last thing you want to do is encourage someone trying to kind of escape a situation and move from point A to point B, put them in a bigger mess, because the resources are there, or we think the resources are there, but nobody can find the resources, and nobody can, where are these? There's always good people that want to support. There's always good places that want to support and good communities that want to support. Unfortunately, it's like finding a job this day and age. There's all these billboards and places and stuff, but there's no person and human form and function there. And so in order to kind of be a soundboard to say, here we are moving you with a truck, like a U-Haul, from point A to point B, your dog, your cat, your kids, and your stuff and things. Like, could you imagine, like, your wonderful dog that came to say hello to you wants to get on camera and be part of what's going on? You imagine not being able to take your dog with you. We want to be able to bring that, because that's still family. It's a good crutch to have. It's a good comfort to have. It's good security. And dogs are sensitive, so if there's a situation going on, your dog's going to sound the alarm and let you know something's happening. And so when you're looking at the broader picture, and a lot of times as nonprofits, you see a little bit of a picture of what people do. The SPCA goes out to pick up cats and dogs. They don't just pick them up on the side of the road. There's a lot of those Animal Planet movies where you get into depth of what they have to do and who they have to encounter. It's a sticky situation. And so we want to be able to do this long term and share with, hey, once you move, what happens now? You've got to have a business. You have children. Your children are online. We want to share with you how the online world works for good, and how you can have a business, how you can share your story. Open up your throat chakra, open up your heart chakra, and bring that story as you heal to the stage without staying in the pain. And that's part of the other reason for having a stage. And in virtual reality, you can come as an avatar. because when we're sad or depressed, it's hard to come on camera sometimes. And it's hard to leave that behind. You know, you're not coming out on the WWE with this whole group of people. Sometimes it's just you. And so, in order to be kind and give people a safe space, they can come in as an avatar or they can come in as their human form, and we can do this on Zoom. But in this day and age, with people doxing and turning on the camera and forcing you to be on the camera, there's a reason that people are not on the camera. There may be more of a deeper reason than just a quote unquote fear or, you know, hey, you got to show up. People are here, but there's a lot of stickiness that goes on. So, in order to stay with the flow and hear someone's story, have them pitch their product, their brands, and their services, and then sell continuously online, there's a little bit of a business there. And giving someone a heart space, if we rescue you and just leave you at a home, then what was the point? That's a lot of, you know, having been in law enforcement and seeing a lot of the violence around where I grew up, you get into this situation and then what? Someone goes to jail, and then if they do reverse it and they do get healthier and they do live a better life, and maybe they are reformed, how do they live again? Because now they have to go home, they have to go hang out with the same bad people, they have to go do the same bad things. You know, it's like saying go on a diet, but here's your Reese's, right? You're putting somebody back in that situation.
Yeah, offering somebody a solution and then not helping them obtain it is really anticlimactic and dangerous. You know, and I love the fact, like I said, I love that confronting domestic violence is part of our program, and as a mission partner, we're able to support some of the great things that they do. Can you explain exactly, and I know that you've delved into it a little bit here, but what is it that these stages encompass? What do they include?
Okay, well, thanks for sharing that. And of course, thanks for sharing your program with me and this part of community. And this is where we make stages happen. And so a stage can be something like a podcast. I'm on the stage, we're branding, we're talking about the thing. And the thing at this point is confronting domestic violence, as well as for getting into virtual stages and digital production. There is a stage, and part of even my podcast, the Pain Point Podcast, is talking about the problem and then bringing in the solution. And from that, even with confronting domestic violence, it's a cycle. In order to sell your brands or services, you need to get on a stage. You need to grab the mic and talk about it. You need to sell. You sell yourself all the time. How you show up, how you brush your hair. You know, did you wipe the snot kind of out of your eyes, right? And come on camera. Be presentable, be there, show up. And how do you do that? You do that through rehearsal, but you also do that through stages. And if you have a community, like someone like myself, who support other communities as well, like coaches or entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, they come in, they need a space to talk about their brand and their product. And in order to do that, we hold a virtual summit. You know, and for me, what I do with my clients personally is bring them a media package. You're going to get on the stage. You're going to talk about your really cool stuff and things, like maybe you're a performance coach and you want to talk about, you know, being healthier, being a healthier, more thoughtful leader, but also really driving and getting the stuff done that you need to get done in your business and refocusing. Maybe there's a few things you need to kind of clean up in your creation and in your product launch. And you get into a peak performance coach, and that coach will come onto the stage. They will share a journey, a story, and interact with their clients. And more of the virtual summits I'm finding are coming into more of a workshop mode, where we're talking and engaging with our audience and having maybe an interview, or the speakers workshopping with their audience. And then they talk about it, and then they sell. You have to sell your product. So if someone likes what you talk about, you need to sell and have a call to action. And then that's also something that turns into media, because I, as a summit host, will share your product. I'm going to affiliate with you. I'm collaborating with you. I want people to know how to find you after the stage. They're going to hear about you on my podcast. You're going to get maybe an AI generated commercial. There'll be clips on YouTube. You'll be part of the replay. That's all media. There's a bundle, and there's pictures, and there's, oh my, content and emails and leads. We're generating leads, and a summit is a way to generate leads. And so with all this marketing is going on plus a media kit, and that's what I do. All that really boring logistical stuff that's in the techie background, I'm kind of like the Oz behind the curtain. And then just peeking out and going, hi, everything's wonderful. How are we doing? Making sure that, the tech's going on and things are working. And hey, sometimes Wi-Fi doesn't work, you know. But how do you get over that? And speakers just want to come in and speak. People who go to trade shows of the old days in a convention, they just want to show up for their booth. They want to come into the stage. They want to hear the speaker. And so they get to come on stage. They get to shine. I give them a place to shine. And then we market them. And that's the whole nuts and bolts of it. There's a production that goes on, just like the old conventions and the old trade shows. There has to be a production going on. Well, forward thinking, that's where virtual reality comes in. Birch and merch, NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and that gets into, you can sell NFTs as tickets, or they can get a VIP package. The same thing, cut and paste, goes into the virtual reality, and that's where we're going in the future. So this is really great, not only for safety issues or bringing meetings and workshops to people who are in maybe sobriety or coming off drugs and alcohol. They can have a safe space, PTSD, military, domestic violence victims. They can all go into the virtual space, and they have a choice to show their face or to come in as the avatar that they want to be. And if you talk to coaches, what do people do? Tony Robbins is great with us. Visualize, right? You're visualizing what you want to be. And with virtual reality, if you bring all the sparkle and the heart and the good stuff, you're visualizing what you want to look like, who you want to be, how do you want to stand and look and pose. And this is you. This is your avatar in a different dimension. This is your avatar maybe in a different time and space. This is your avatar because you don't want to get up and do your hair, take off your pajamas or your funny bunny slippers. You can do this and be in virtual reality. And this is just, it's just a kind of a different way and a different angle to see this. I've had networking meetings in there. We've had meetings in there, onboarding training in there. It's not the end all be all. It's just a fun extra little sparkle. Sometimes we have panels for summits in there and have people come in. It depends on the audience, the barrier of entry for the audience, if they're comfortable going in or if they have time to train and get in there. But, that's just all the logistics and the stuff of it. But, looking at this is the future. And if we want to have a stage and a place for our services and our brands and for marketing, this is a whole 360 space that I provide.
There are two things about that I think are very, very important, and I think are something that can lead to comforting someone who is getting into this speaking mindset. And the first thing is that this is a great place to go on there and make sure that you understand what they need to say when they're talking about themselves, which sounds weird. But there are so many times, and I talk from experience big time on this, when you get up and you start talking about your program, you start talking about what you have done, you know everything there is to say about it. You know it from head to tail, but you can't explain it at all to where somebody else can understand it. This gives you a chance to make sure that you can polish that up, and you're sitting there and you're still, you're looking at your computer screen. You're not, you don't have that fear of, oh my God, thousands of people are watching me or whatever. You got that quaintness,
right,
of everything. And it's also good. And that leads to my second thing. This is great for somebody who is shy and maybe not the person who likes to be out there in the public and has fear of speaking or is just not quite used to it. This gives you more of that quaint and one-on-one situation where we can a lot of times talk. But yeah, people, I know how difficult it can be for some people to understand what you're saying, and especially when it's somebody who knows everything. I knew everything about community pay it forward, but I could not tell you what it was. It took a long time for me to figure that out. So I think that your program is wonderful that it does that. So who
Thank
are
you.
the,
Yeah.
yeah, go on ahead, please.
Oh, no, no, it's a great way to learn. You have to do it, and you do it enough times. There's enough summits out there, but what are you getting in the benefit? And seeing how when people say, "Hey, I want to get on the stage and be the next TEDx speaker," do you really understand what it takes to get the how? Do you understand the logistics and the how of what it takes to get there? And if you feel you want to DIY it, you're going to be there for a minute. You'll never launch.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. But people need to get out and speak, and this is just an easy way to do it. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's the message is so important, right, Nicole? The message, because you and I have discussed it. We were just discussing it a little bit earlier, where confronting domestic violence is not one of those who's going to go and rescue you from a situation where you don't have anywhere to go. That's not what they do. You have to have somewhere specific for them to do this. People, if people don't understand that, they're going to start calling your organization and asking you to do things that you just don't do. It's really important for you to get your message out there. That way, when people call you, they understand that, yes, this is what we focus on. This is what we do. And that's what you can help them do, is focus on that message. Because you can have the best message in the world, but if every time you try to talk to somebody, it's like dropping a brick on your foot, that message is going to go to waste.
Well, absolutely. But in that, the great thing about being in the crux of the message, and messages get messy, right? Just like
Mhm.
our lives can be messy. However, if you're telling your story and you're talking about it, you're not living in that pain, and now you're healing and you're helping other people heal, as well as you're training and learning and getting and gaining experience with exposure. And it is a different realm when people say, "Hey, I'm afraid to talk or get on stage, or I'm in fear." Well, people talk about being in fear all the time, and this is in domestic violence and PTSD, and when you're trying to get into post-traumatic growth and finding solutions, you need to talk about your story, and you need to have a space. Not every stage that I run is for domestic violence victims, but it alludes to the cause and talks about the cause, and so in doing that, yes, not everybody, we're not going to be here for everybody in the same way. However, we offer other resources, and there is other guidelines and places we send people so they can get what they need, because a lot of places just do, like you talked about earlier, they do the one thing and that's all they do. However, they don't offer more resources. The point is to get that encyclopedia or that Bible of information out there to say, "Hey, here's where you can go in this area. Here's who you can talk to. Here's who you can reach out to." This is where we can point you in the direction of the information, and as well as how can you heal with a solution. And that's why we offer workshops, and we have one coming up in this next month on May 2nd, where people can come in for free, and listen to people talk about emotional growth and financial freedom, which have a lot to do with one another. You're in a space, there's a lot of finance.
We have a freeze going on right now. We have had some difficulty with the internet a little bit, but yeah, we've been talking to Nicole Berger, no, I'm sorry, Borgie, and she's talking to us about virtual reality. And We have discussed recently about virtual reality treatments, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get Nicole on here, because she is working a program that deals with virtual reality, and she can help explain a little bit about how virtual reality helps to support someone else. As she was just saying, this is a great place somebody can go to learn, somebody can go to express themselves, or even better yet, put themselves out there a little bit. And as they're doing that, they can find the support that they need. And, that is so vitally important. One of the points that she was just trying to get across is a lot of times when somebody is leaving a domestic violence situation, and this is something a lot of people don't take into consideration. I know I never did until I heard someone talking about it. One of the ways that somebody can be mistreated is financially. And she was just about ready to get into talking about the difficulty of running your own bills and learning how to pay your own bills and stuff like this. And we've heard every financial planner in the world say they should be teaching this in school, and they should. Well, one of the things that this is good for is this can take you to one of these seminars, like what they're doing. They can take them to one of these seminars, and what you can do is they can teach you how to do it, and they can do it in a setting where it's like you are sitting there. You're there with them. You can ask them the questions. You can continue to learn while they are physically, it's like they're physically there teaching you. So this is a chance, like I said, and Nicole is coming back in, but yeah, the financial abuse and stuff like that, this does give you a chance to really take, and you can relearn about, paying your own bills and stuff like that while people are, because this is a form of abuse that happens quite often. And it's one of the things that when you're getting out of an abusive relationship, you really don't know that you were in that kind of situation until you don't have any clue on how to balance your own checkbook. So, yeah, I'm sorry that we lost you, Nicole, but I was just talking, and as you know, when you came in, that we were just talking about how you can teach somebody reteach somebody how to financially take care of themselves. Yeah, I'm sorry that we lost you, Nicole, but I was just talking, and as you know, when you came in, that we were just talking about how you can teach somebody reteach somebody how to financially take care of themselves.
Well, thanks for your patience. Tech does what it wants, and that's part of what happens with summits, right? That's that tech and learning how to use that and just getting back into it. And what happens is when you're in that financial health. Hey, I grew up as a second generational welfare person. My mom wrote a check. She posted checks on Tuesday for Friday, the old Popeyes. Can I pay you on Tuesday for a burger today, or however Wimpy did it? You remember those? I mean, that'll date me. But she was, so and she's from a very unhealthy, violent relationship. But when you stay in that poverty mindset, and in order to flip the script to be the 99% that is the successful portion of it, instead of the 1% that is, how do we do that? We do that through education. We do that through experience and community. We could talk about it. We can post about it and put it on social media all day, and you see people that do that. However, it's taking action. And as a good leader and as a good coach, in order to have post-traumatic growth and support community, Anybody. It doesn't have to just be domestic violence people, but people coming back from the military. And I worked with a lot of military, being in law enforcement. I went into homes and you know, in hospice mode or in port where certain men got out of the military. I worked with a lot of them going into their home, and a lot of it was more coaching than washing dishes. Than anything was talking and to be a voice with them and listen, let their voice be heard. And that works the same here in this same way. How can I do more? I could do more by talking to you and putting the podcast out. And that's kind of why I flipped into being more on a virtual stage, because you talk to more people on a global level. However, with that and with that experience and the people that I work with and collaborate with, it's really sharing the change in our mental mindset that woke really doesn't mean broke. You know, waking up to your spiritual awakening, whatever that is, if it's God and your purpose and even in a spiritual meditative state. And it's an energetic exchange, and we have to learn that you have to have some type of ownership and control of your well-being, and that is financial. As a parent, someone who has children or someone who needs to put a roof over their head, you have to have money. And how do you do that? That's how you take control back in anything. And with the world changing so fastly, we have so much great technology to do this. And that's where coming into a workshop with us will give you the ability to learn tools from people who teach wealth. I'm going to learn something too. I want to know. You know, I can take something away from my business as well as an entrepreneur. How do we do this? And so it's education and it's business that we're teaching in a community way so people can go out there and be successful and leaving the growth in 2025 instead of getting on our soapbox and winding up and banging a drum. That doesn't help and nobody's listening. So that's how you change that community, is through education and through support.
I think one of the other things that this could really do is it can also make it to where, you know what, you don't have to come into this arena and absolutely know what you need, know what you're looking for. This gives you a little bit of a chance to where you can come in and you can look around and you can feel what's going on. You can feel the vibe, you can feel what's going on, and you can you know, dip your toe into many different comfort levels before you have to know what you're doing, right?
Well, exactly. And so there's so many with the advantage of technology. You can come into a space, you can get on a call with someone like me and talk to me and say, "Hey, I've never done this before. What do I need?" And I will guide you and I will give that. That's free. Here's a few of the steps that you'll need to take away. I have courses, I have PDFs, and I'm more than willing to guide you into that space. But you're going to have to get on a stage somehow. You're going to have to get online at some time and know where the progression is. So in a chess match, that's a long form. Checkers is a little bit shorter. In a chess match, you need a bit of a long form plan. And why not play with people willing to play with you and take it a notch? You need 5 of those of your closest friends, or who do you know, like, and trust? If those 5 of your closest friends are in the same predicament as you, I've been there too. I am talking from experience, and I know many, many people who have been in better or worse situations than me. If they're just as bad or worse, and they're in and they're more partners in pain than they are in success, they're not going to help you. And when you need to pick up the phone for help and get out of there, they're probably not going to help you. And so your chances of leaving are what? As you start to know and get educated, or start to come to the space where you want to be on a stage and you're ready to sell your products, brands, and services, you're welcome either way, wherever you're at. So there's a summit, there's a virtual stage, there's a workshop, or maybe you just need to come in and feel part of the connection. We had a wonderful workshop in February about relationships for confronting domestic violence. And we allowed people to come in on their Zoom avatar. So the barrier to entry, they didn't need to learn anything. They just came in and clicked a button. We walked them through it. This way they could connect with one another. They could be off camera because we
Earn.
asked if they could be recorded. Yeah. And you know what? They can do some post traumatic growth. They can have some
Yep.
healing. They can have a question and answer. We workshop with them. So we don't just say, show up, listen to blah, blah, blah. We're going to give you the how and the motion and the knowledge, and it's up to you to take the action. And then call us afterwards and please share something with us and say, hey, I need to know more. Where do I get that? We can guide you in that step as well, or say, hey, I'm ready to be on the stage. I've got a really cool thing I want to sell. Come on, let's do this. And that's how we all make money in this, so we can survive it and get into the thrive part of it.
I still, and I had talked about this before, I love the term post-traumatic growth because it just does, I mean, it gives such a level of confidence that, your your trauma, you can grow from it. And I do. I love that term post-traumatic growth. When is this seminar coming up and how do people get a hold of it?
Well, the next workshop that we have for confronting domestic violence is actually May 2nd, and people can just reach out to me in Nicole Borgie anywhere. Go to confronting domestic violence. You can email support there, or you can email. Everything's under for me, is under my name, NICOLEBORGHI, and you'll find me anywhere. Hit me up, DM me, reach out. I'm mostly on LinkedIn. I have a website. It's in my name. Everything's in my name, so you can find me. It's a lot easier that way. That way I don't have to call it something different. My business isn't changing tomorrow. You'll find me. I'm still here. But we're out there, and that is going to be that financial freedom workshop that we're doing, and we're bringing some wealth instructors and healers in there, and we all have a little thing about money, don't we? So let's kick that all off for 2025, because it's the year of the dragon, and let it shed its skin so we can all move forward.
And all of that information, her website, her LinkedIn is going to be attached to this video. So please just look in the description of this video and you can find it. Nicole, I want to thank you very much. Please promise me if you guys have anything coming up in the near future that you would like to discuss, you're going to come back and join us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me and excusing my Wi-Fi.
You know what? Wi-Fi is not it's not our best friends, even though it tries. It tries, but it can be the one thing that I think the hard thing about this is that we're talking about the virtual reality of everything, and then but I mean, look, there's going to be problems in everything, but the greatness in this, and when you were away, I was talking about how just a couple weeks ago we were talking about virtual reality therapy and treatments that people can take, and this gives them a chance to not rush into something and not rush into a situation where you got to go in and, hi, my name is Zach, and this is what's happened, and I'm not ready to be the vocal point. This does give you a chance to go in and kind of sit in the background and feel the flow and get the the feeling in yourself before you have to participate.
Oh, absolutely. And virtual reality allows you to show up where you're at. No
Right.
excuses.
Yeah. And continue
physically, mentally. Yep.
Yep, and continue. And this is, to me, this is the most important thing. You can continue to be yourself, because if you're not yourself, you're never going to heal. You've got to be yourself. So,
right. Absolutely.
But Nicole, again, thank you so very much. Please, one more time, what's your email, or what's your email and your website?
So my email is nicole@nicoleborgie.com. And then the website is Nicole Borgie. Or if you're looking for any assistance or want to share, with some great things is confrontingdomesticviolence.org and confrontingdb.org. And it's also on your website, Zach, because you're a collaborator with us too, right?
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, the QR code for confronting domestic violence is going to be up in the corner throughout this whole interview. It's going to be up in the corner. You can use this QR code to go online and find someone to shop with. When you shop with them, and you upload a picture of the receipt, confronting domestic violence is going to get a portion of your sales. So please utilize this, because we want to make sure that we're supporting this, because domestic violence, like all violence, has to stop. So nobody is more important than anyone else. We need to make sure that we're taking care of each other. So Nicole, thank you so much.
Thank you for what you do and for having me today.
No problem. As we stated right there, technology is a wonderful thing, and you have to learn to live with it, love it, and not live with it and love it all at the same time. But I do want to thank Nicole for joining us and giving us that information. We pieced together that interview with a lot of information showing you her outlets, social media outlets, and also the pages on how you can support confronting domestic violence, which the QR code is up in the corner. Go to that QR code, and for the next couple of weeks, that's how you can donate directly by using our community pay it forward giving partners. Now, as we've been talking about, coming up in just a couple weeks, the community pay it forward mobile app will be coming out. That mobile app is going to change the program, going to change the product, going to change everything that we do, make it so much easier for you. So when that comes along, the QR codes are still going to be here for your benefit, but they're not going to be the only way that you can get a hold of them. You can get a hold of Nicole on Instagram at Nicole Borgie 3. The website is NicoleBorgie.com. LinkedIn, you can also find her at, if you guess Nicole Borgie, you're correct. You can Google, and I found this out. You can Google Nicole Borgie, and her name comes up. You can also find more information out. When you scan this QR code, you can find out a lot more information on confronting domestic violence. You can also watch our interview with the founder of Confronting Domestic Violence, which is a very, very heartbreaking story that she's turned into some good. You know what? As a matter of fact, this is what we're going to do. We're going to play that interview next when we continue with Community Impact. I do want to once again thank you very much for working with me during all of these technical faux pas, making sure that, oh wow, look at this. I don't know if you guys have ever seen me in anything but devil's gear, or ties, whatever. So, your business is your American dream. Hey, Ken,
But today, opening your doors comes with tough questions. Will customers walk in? Can I stock the shelves with what they need? Can I afford salaries? And how do I compete with the big box store down the road? That is exactly why we created Community Pay It Forward. Because in hard times, we need stronger communities led by people with bigger hearts. Our Shop, Click, and Pick program makes it simple. Every purchase at a participating small business supports a cause you care about. You shop, others thrive. Even when money is tight, you can still make a huge difference. You're not just shopping, you're supporting families, nonprofits, and your neighbors. That's the power of community. That's the power of the Community Pay It Forward family. When you join the Community Pay It Forward family, you will be seen, you will be remembered, and you will be a hero for people in need everywhere. You, your business, and Community Pay It Forward. Because no one needs to go it alone. When we all
Whether you have experienced domestic violence personally or not, someone you know has. Your circle of family, friends, acquaintances, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men will experience domestic violence at some point in their life. Physical abuse is only one of the many forms of domestic violence. Survivors also report experience of verbal, emotional, spiritual, sexual, financial, electronic, and so much more. Domestic violence does not discriminate. It can leave you traumatized and devastated, mentally, emotionally, financially. You can find yourself homeless, jobless, helpless. The list can go on. There's blankets of insecurities, triggers, doubts, and other residual effects that become hurdles that impact our life as we do our best to move on. Many people associate butterflies with a sense of freedom. We've been taught along the way to focus on the transformation that takes place inside of the cocoon. I invite you to take a moment to conceptualize all the odds the caterpillar was up against and needed to defeat in order to get to a safe place, to build its cocoon and actually experience the transformation. My name is A. Garcia. I am a mother and survivor of a double attempted homicide. Now, I'm dedicating my life to take yours to the next level by experiencing post-traumatic growth to begin a new chapter in your life. Let's get started on this journey together. Community to make a difference. Nobody should suffer alone. Please scan the QR code.
So that right there is going to show you a little bit about what's coming. Okay. Again, this was not the most difficult video. This was not the most difficult interview I've ever had to do, but it most assuredly wasn't the easiest. It definitely taught me a lot, and I'm hoping and praying that if you need help, this will inspire you and help you find the place to find the help that you need. This is my interview with Agape Garcia at Confronting Domestic Violence, a new Community Pay It Forward mission partner. Please support Confronting Domestic Violence by shopping. Shop, click, and pick. Shop with any of our partners. Click a picture and attach it to the QR code that you're going to see in the corner right about now. Hey everybody, it's Zach Clayton with Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. I want to thank you for bearing with us with all of the changes. You can see a QR code up in the corner that's right now it's covering my lovely guest's face, but that's because it's a very important code for this particular interview. She has started this program and confronting domestic violence, and we're going to be getting into the story a little bit here through this podcast. But she is our guest here today on Footprints Forward. I would like to welcome Agape. How are you doing, Agape?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking, and thank you for having me here.
You know what? I greatly appreciate you working with me. We were supposed to do this the other day. It just didn't work out. But we will, we'll go with what we've got. So, Agape, you started confronting domestic violence after there's no other way to say this, after a horrific events going on in your life. Can you please take and walk us through what you're comfortable walking us through with there?
Sure, no problem. Thank you for this opportunity. I will start by saying that this organization was born from the ICU unit about 3 years ago. I was in a major car accident, which resulted in a 1% chance of me surviving. And that was the first time in my life that I knew I wasn't fighting for myself. Like I was not fighting on my own behalf. I had to surrender all and everything and just give all that I could to, the Lord, and ask, why did he believe that my life, that I was worth saving? I didn't understand. I didn't know. I was in a situation where I could not even feed myself, let alone, raise an arm or a leg. I was literally just in ICU and unable to move much of anything. I was pretty shattered from head to toe, literally. And I had many prayerful moments in that time of my life. And it finally came to me that I had a story to share. I had a purpose to live and a impact to make with the community of parents and people who are dealing with domestic violence. I survived a double attempted homicide when I was 8 months pregnant, over 1,000 miles away from home. That was close to 20 years ago. And so I had lived under a rock since that moment of fighting for our lives. And when I say lived under a rock, I mean literally never even had MySpace. I was not on social media. I convinced myself that social media was just an advertising platform, and that's the last thing I wanted to do was advertise where I was and what me and my kids looked like, let alone what the heck we were doing. So my entire life from that moment became all about protecting and providing for my children. And so I definitely, over the past 20 years, went through some serious uncharted waters and experienced an abundance of I don't even know what to call them, situations, loopholes, survival mode, extreme independence, self-sabotaging. I mean,
Yeah.
you name it. There's a lot of things that, are post, trauma. And I focus on post-traumatic growth, by the way, since I just mentioned that. PTG. Everybody's familiar with PTSD. Not a lot of people are familiar with PTG. It's post-traumatic growth. A lot of us actually have that within us. Makes us stronger, wiser, as it relates to our experience and doing something about that. So that's pretty much where I am today and how confronting domestic violence came about.
I mentioned when you and I talked last week that I flat out in love with your terminology of the post traumatic growth. I love that because it's not, it, everybody has a right to play victim, to be a victim, not play. And forgive me for saying that, not play, but be a victim. Everybody has that right. But after a while, you've got to get over being a victim. You got to get back into your life. Agape, you're a mom. You have a life that you had to get back to, and it scared you badly. How difficult is it now that your daughter is getting out there into the world a little bit? Are you like the mama bear protecting her? Are you kind of like, what is that like for you?
Sure. I actually will answer that, but I wanna respond to something else you
Yeah,
mentioned just a
please.
moment ago. And, that was, are we live or are you pre-recording?
No, we're pre-recording. This goes on here in about an hour.
Okay, so you don't edit.
No, I don't.
I wish you told me that before. I love this. Okay, audience, you're seeing the real deal here.
Hey, look, they've watched me sit there and go, and after a while, I just realized that I'm sitting there looking at like the hairs coming out of my nose or something.
Right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm as
they're
red as a
used to this
tomato
with
right
me.
now. Okay, so I want to talk about the word that you use as it relates to victim, and everybody has the right to be a victim. I don't think everybody has a right to be a victim, but I know what you're saying. I'm just playing off the words. But yes, I have this outlook of, that journey of, when you are a victim, you really don't realize that that's what's happening, right? It's you have to reach a threshold, and everybody has their own threshold that they reach until they realize that they are in a situation where they are being victimized. And that is what really takes that large heaping step in that growth, because once you realize that you are a victim or that you were a victim is when you're actually stepping into that stage of realizing I am no longer a victim. I was being victimized. Okay. And then once you start getting that strength and that confidence, and you are starting to see the bigger picture of things, you might start feeling some emotions of anger or frustration or questioning who you are, or calling yourself names because you couldn't see it or didn't detect it, or things of that nature. All those things are very normal. And when you're in that space and you're like getting back to your, self efficiencies, you are then becoming that survivor. So it's like a staged type of transitional growth. You're acknowledging that you were a victim. You're realizing that you're in that stage of when you realize you were victimized, and then you step into that survivor mode. And eventually, when you're in that survivor mode, you register that at some point in your journey, and then you become this like warrior. Okay, so so I would like to believe that's kind of where I'm at with the post-traumatic growth journey and that. So when you said, how did that make me feel as mama bear, and how did I get through that situation that, changed my life in a matter of 15 minutes, right? So I will happily go through that with you to really mirror what I just said with those stages. All right. So I was born and raised in Chicago. All right. I was in the not so great neighborhoods most of my life. When you're not in a good neighborhood and you have the opportunity to leave that neighborhood, that's a definition of making it. Okay. So when I traveled 1,000 miles across country to get out of the neighborhood and make it, right? I was working full time. I was in school. I was raising my daughter. I was 7 months pregnant, and I was, very independent. I was dating the gentleman. We had been together for a couple years already. We were planning on the future. He was offered the job. He went first. I waited until my daughter was on her spring vacation, and then my semester was over, making sure that everything was done very methodical and responsible and as seamless as possible. So it took about 3 to 4 weeks for my items to arrive once I drove across country. And during that, 3 weeks, I'm settling in, making sure that my daughter is, transitioning well in her new school. I'm acquainting myself with the neighborhood and getting to know, my new doctors and things of that nature. And when my items arrived and I was unpacking, I came across items that belonged to somebody else other than me. And I did not recall the father of my child at any given time telling me that there was any family or friends at the house. So My heart was beating fast. I was going through extreme anxiety. I had a million things going on in my head because I had just voluntarily left my job, my school, my friends, my family, and everything and everybody that I ever knew around me. And so when my daughter went to bed that evening, I waited until the end of the day to have the conversation. I said, hey, while I was unpacking my stuff, I came across belongings that are not of mine, and I would like to know who they belong to. And I was accused of going through his stuff. And I said, I'm going to repeat myself. I found belongings while I was putting my stuff away. And before I could even finish my repeating myself, I was already on the floor. He was sitting on my stomach, straddling my 8-month belly, and with his left hand around my neck and his right hand closed fist punching me over and over to the head. And I was squirming around, and all I remember is my daughter's voice, Mom, Mom. And I never heard that tone of fear in my child's voice before. And that gave me She-Hulk adrenaline, okay, to fight for my life because I did not want her to come down those stairs and see what was going on. And I slammed my feet on the ground and I thrusted my hips towards the ceiling, and I was able to like roll him over me. I have no idea how I popped up in a second. I ran around the couch and she was coming down the last step. I grabbed her little hand and we ran outside the door just like that, barefoot with pajamas. And I'm knocking on the door to my neighbor. Please, please, please. I need to use your phone. I need to call the police. I call the police. You know, the 15, 20 minutes that it took them to get there felt like eternity. I just couldn't believe what happened, what was going on. Everything was just taken away in a matter of 15 minutes. I didn't even know if my baby was okay, if I was going to be okay, if we were going to be okay, if I could even have a baby at this time in my life, now that I'm in this extreme survival mode with my, 8-year-old daughter here. And it was horrific. It was the most devastating thing I could say that ever possibly happened. And I don't have sisters. I don't have brothers. I don't have cousins. I'm an only child, and I'm come from a very dysfunctional family. And so I was truly by myself. And plus my good friends that, I do consider to be, very close at like just as family. Even them, I didn't call much of anybody. I didn't tell anybody. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. I couldn't go back anyways. I'm high risk. So I can't say, to make a long story short, because there is no such thing under these circumstances. However, I'll say that, I did not realize that when they put the handcuffs on him and he was being taken away, he didn't have to worry about what I was about to be worried about, which was shelter, which was heat, which was electricity, which was food, which was everything that, one requires in order to, live. And so while he was taken away and had all those things in jail, I was stuck. I was stuck trying to figure out what was available for us. And I was in line. I was in line for food stamps. I was in line for any sort of financial aid. I was in line for housing. I was in line for anything and everything because I had nothing. We didn't even share a bank account. I had nothing. So it was a very hard fight and battle uphill. And I can honestly say that if it wasn't for the childhood that I had, which I just shared with you, being an only child in a not so great neighborhood, what you don't learn behind the door and at home, you'll definitely learn on the street. If you do not learn respect in your home, you will learn respect outside your door. Yep. So I'm very clear on, that. So if I didn't have that rough upbringing, that survival type of make it through the wilderness childhood, I probably would not have been able to have the ability to endure and really be built for the fight that was ahead of me as it relates to fighting for my rights, protecting my children, not giving up, and keep calling every single phone number possible. I mean, I probably called over 1,000 numbers, 1-800 numbers before was able to actually reach somebody to help me. And I navigated so much over the 20 years that I've, since I've experienced that incident. And you can only imagine everything that was planned as a life and a future, was out the window. I didn't even care about school anymore. My career was out the door. It was just, what can pay the bills? How can I provide? How can I stay, under the rock, under the radar, and get back to school and provide for my kids? And with doing that, I was exposed and experienced or I don't want to say experienced, I am experienced now. I was exposed to a lot of different opportunities and things in different realms as it relates to the jobs and the communities. So little did I know where my life was going. It was second by second, I couldn't even do day by day. It was literally like hour by hour. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane to live under those circumstances. And so in complete survival mode and in extreme independence, taking on the world and putting everything on your shoulders seems like the right thing to do, especially when you don't trust and when you feel like you can't trust. And that is a part of that ripple effect of, being victimized, because you gave so much trust and you gave your life and you gave, your vulnerability, and it was robbed, it was shattered, it was destroyed, and it takes a while to rebuild. And I've learned that when you spend your time wondering, why did they do this? Why? All these why questions, right? Why did they, and why did I, and why didn't we? Those questions is when you're there, that's how you know that you're going through that transition, because you're really trying to make sense of things. And I'm here to tell you that it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible to understand the way that somebody else's brain works, or what their motives are, or why they do what they do. And the less time that you spend wondering why they did what they did, or why they acted, the more time you can spend on forgiving yourself for whatever you're mad at yourself about. Again, you can't control what other people do. You can only control you. And when you move out and you physically are no longer in the environment and you're moving on, everybody seems to come across almost like a blanket of just pure insecurities. You don't want to get to know anybody. You don't want to try to develop a relationship or a friendship, any kind of ship, right? You're just really with your radars going all the time. And it can lead you to a place where you just close off the world and you isolate yourself. And that's a risky place too, because you can move a million times, you can travel a bunch of places, you can put yourself in many different environments, but in reality, you live in your head.
You can't escape you.
You can't. You live in your head. So if other people and the questions about them are renting space in your head, and they don't belong there, evict them.
Yeah.
Evict them. And if you're dealing with the doubts and the lack of self-confidence within, think about somebody that you would fight for, that you would confront and get in between, that you would protect with your own life, whether it's your children, your best friend, your parent, whoever that person is. That level of energy, that level of what's the right word that I'm looking for? Like protection that you would give that person is the same exact love and protection and fight that you need to give for yourself. I did not know that mirror work was a real thing. And when I was going through that transition, of figuring out what I was going to do, because my baby, my unborn baby, was going to be born in 45 days from the day of the incident. And I had to figure out my entire life in 45 days. I did not know that mirror neurons were a real thing and that mirror work is a real thing. But I just instinctively went to the mirror and yelled at myself and screamed at myself and talked to myself like I would talk to someone I was really, really angry with, because they knew better than what they were trying to convince themselves of. Like when your best friend or your daughter says, that they just want to give up because they got second or third place instead of first. It's
Right.
like the encouragement you have to give is the same encouragement and the same cheerleading and the same advocacy you need to give yourself. Okay. And
There a little bit of the good news that's come out of this. The baby was fine.
yes, the baby was fine.
So
I had a planned C-section. I actually talked the doctors into having the C-section 14 days prior to the actual due date, because I was just so stressed out, and I believed that the baby was better
Yeah.
off outside of my emotional, insides.
Right. You started confronting domestic violence. Can you tell me what the sole mission of confronting domestic violence is?
Yeah, the sole mission of confronting domestic violence is to provide real-time resources to real-time victims. And if they have a safe place to go and not the means to get there, and they have children, then we will help provide those relocation services to get them to their safe location. I don't believe that any parent should have to leave everything behind when moving for safety. That was a huge gap, in my personal life. So I really want to be able to bridge that gap.
Yeah, and I can imagine that's why it was so important to you, because you didn't feel like you had that safe place, and you may not have had that safe place. So, um, what since your accident and in the last 3 years, I've looked on your website and you've done some amazing things in 3 years. Okay. I know nonprofits that have been going for a decade or longer that are still trying to, punch through and still trying to, they're doing everything they can do. But you really got a team together and you hit the ground and you guys are running.
From your mouth to his ears, this is why I believe my life was spared. And I got off of, my friend just told me yesterday. She said, and she was next to me. She was almost every other day next to my bed. She came and saw me all the time. And she said, you walked from your deathbed into your purpose. You told me, I watched the whole spiritual revelation happen in front of me. I saw you praying. I heard you praying. You shared with me, that you just wanted to know why, and now you're just walking in your why. And I said, you could never have convinced me that this would be where we are today, because to your point, I've heard on numerous occasions, you guys are only 3 years in existence from
Yep.
your date of 501c3 status. What? I said, this is proof in the pudding.
Yep. And Agape, one of the things that I love the most, again, and talking to you was such a revelation to me, because my motorcycle accident led me here. Okay. I was a truck driver. I hated going to work every day. I was in a relationship that I wasn't satisfied with. I began every day with, I hate my effing life. Every day I began my life like that, to where, you know what, I was thrown into a fence, left in a ditch, and now I would like to say I'm living a dream, but you know what? I'm starting a dream. I'm starting a dream because I get to do what I enjoy doing, which is meeting beautiful, beautiful, wonderful people like you and using our QR codes to take and support dreams and support programs for people to help people. And I love it. So you wanted me to make sure that we brought this up, and this is something in which this I've got somebody that I need to introduce you to. Remind me about that later. But the domestic violence effect in the workplace.
Yes, I have so much experience in going to work as a victim, in also being a manager, human resource generalist, security, consultant. I have been in wore many hats at work, with domestic violence being around me all the time. And it's interesting because for the longest time, domestic violence, spillover happens at work so much, but nobody talks about it because of, for many reasons, right? Like social
Mhm.
stigma, the fear of retaliation, and so many different things. There are employee benefit programs, EAP programs, employee assistance programs that most corporations offer employees that, if they have a gambling problem, an alcohol addiction, porn, fetishes and things of that nature, they have, resources to help them get through that. And they don't, what's typically not there, what most folks don't see, is resources for real-time victims of domestic violence. Okay. And the statistics haven't changed for decades, although COVID has pushed the needle forward, unfortunately. And so, with domestic violence being 1 out of 3 women and 1 out of 4 men, and it does not discriminate against anybody. It doesn't matter what color, how much money, what's your title, what's your domination. It does not matter. Okay? Domestic violence is real, and the statistics prove themselves. So the state of California has recently passed a law. It's a legislative law. It is called SB 553. And California has recognized that domestic violence is basically a pandemic, and that COVID-19, it was a pandemic within a pandemic during COVID-19. And so they have mandated that most California corporations have a workplace violence prevention plan in place. That law was passed September 30th of 2023, but is now in effect and was put into effect July 1st of 2024. Small window for a new bill to be into effect, and the expectation for employers to be compliant. Now, there's a few exceptions. If you're law enforcement, you don't need to comply because they have their own. And same thing with healthcare. If you're in the healthcare industry, so basically if you abide by HIPAA, you don't need to comply with SB 553 because they also have their own plan in place. Now, if you're a small organization and you're not open to the public and you are active and compliant with your annual injury and illness prevention plan, then you can be exempt. But any other organization that does not fall under those 3 simple categories, you need to be compliant. So wait, because here's where it gets crazier, right? So for a police officer with the emergency responders, right, domestic violence is the riskiest call for them to respond to. So now employers and day-to-day personnel are expected to be first responders because the bill is requiring observation, reporting, preventing, and responding and following up.
So it's basically made everybody a mandatory reporter.
Basically, you got that right.
I don't know why a company that works with other human beings wouldn't want this bill. I don't know why they wouldn't want. Okay, and I say this because here in Colorado, earlier this year, we lost a beautiful soul to domestic violence in the workplace. A woman, I'm gonna be respectful and call her a woman, but she was still a little girl. Was constantly being harassed by this other person, and she did everything she could to get her schedule moved away, but she wanted to. I think she was moving off to college or something. I don't want to get too much into her story because I don't want to misrepresent her. But they ended up getting put on the same schedule, and he ended up killing her here in Colorado, and it breaks my heart. I hate reporting that story because it breaks my heart, and I don't see, that manager who, as much as I don't want to put this on the manager, I'm going to put this on the manager, because if he knew that this was a problem, and he or she knew this was a problem, that should have never ever been there. First off, the young man shouldn't have had a job. Okay, because if you're harassing someone, that's not something that just stops because no, they're not dogs. They're going to prove a point. So, but that's why I think that I don't see why anybody wouldn't want this.
That's right. That's right. And I'm sorry. I just wanted to tell you that I'm also bringing that up because you could see how passionate I am about this topic.
Absolutely.
Okay? And here's the thing is that when SB 553 came into play, I had to remove my vision statement off of my website. Why? Because the vision for confronting domestic violence was for corporations to offer real-time resources. I had no idea it was going to be beyond that. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is great, because throughout my journey in this, bouncing from job to job, as I had to relocate for my own personal safety, I have clear understanding of how to read a legislative bill. I have volunteered under Cal legislation for more than a decade under public privacy and safety. I have previously been an appointed mayoral appointee to sit on the Citizens Review Board to work directly with internal affairs, understanding and identifying, police practices, responses, and received hands-on training. I also had a physical security company, so I'm very familiar with, the guard services and how to get senior leadership involvement for company policies and things of that nature. I hold an active BSIS card. I am, still with the InfraGuard. I have and I'm running this nonprofit. I'm staying active in the community. I know so many different, programs and resources available. So I'm looking at now providing like a full-on service. I'm collaborating with multiple nonprofit organizations so that we can act as a community of referrals to help prevent the cycle of return for these people who are being abused and staying in fear or going back because of fear. And then I'm providing this consulting for SB 553 to help corporations be compliant, meet the mandates, help train the right people the right way, and help save lives. The fines are staggering. They start at $12,000. They can go all the way up to $160,000 for just complete negligence. And any whistleblower can call and, have them come a knocking. So, and then I would love to have confronting domestic violence as a resource for people that are in need. And I'll be that third party, reducing the liability for the corporations and then providing the services for, their people. Full round service.
Well, Agape, the one person that I really want to get you with is a really good friend of mine, and why it's not. It's because I got to add it to the screen. But this is. Let me. I don't know what I'm doing yet here, so please.
It's a new
yeah, it's a new program, but you know what? It's working. But Deborah McPhee here, and I will make the introduction to you. She, like yourself, her ex-husband hired a couple gentlemen to end her life, and she was sexually assaulted and basically escaped her captors, and now she tries to help people in the workplace to maintain safe workplaces. So I cannot wait to introduce you to her. I think you two really have a lot to talk about, but you can get a hold of her on our website by going to McPhee Coaching in the search bar, and you can learn more about Deborah McPhee. But this is so very important. I know that I've got to let you go, and that's sad because I've really enjoyed this. But I've got one very, very important question to ask you, and this one is one that unfortunately we know that money is key. We all need money. Everybody needs money. What other things can people provide you, Agape, that can help confronting domestic violence thrive?
Wow. We are having our very first fundraising event October 27th. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. October 27th is when we're having our very first gala. We're having, please check us out on our website, confrontingdomesticviolence.org. If you're interested in supporting in any kind of way, we can use people to help us raise capital, people to help write grant applications, just volunteer, help, recruit high schoolers or college students that want to help, like just with, social media marketing and things of that nature. We need visibility so we can really develop this community, so we can provide for the other communities that are in need.
And again, folks, QR code right above me. That's how you can take and it's up here somewhere. There we go. That's that. Thank God I don't edit anything. Yeah. But the QR code above my head, my shiny 9 head I got going, it's way past forehead. But that QR code is the best way in the world that you can support this program, in my humble opinion, because all you have to do is shop with any of our partners. When you shop with our partners, you use that, hello, co-host. You simply add the receipt to your purchase, and you either take a picture of it with your camera widget, or you upload the receipt where it's asked for it, and a portion of your purchase goes to supporting Agape and her team to make sure that these families get to a safe place. Okay, listen carefully. If they are left in a dangerous situation, they're in a dangerous situation. If they've got somewhere where we can get them out of there, let's get them. Bad words. Get them the hell out of there. Do what you can do. Support Agape. Support confronting domestic violence. Thank you for your time today. I cannot thank you enough. You're such a beautiful, beautiful person to go through what you went through. Such a heart-wrenching story. I am so glad that you went through your journey and you came out stronger. I am, as much as I hate the pain you went through, I appreciate that you came back and now what could have helped you, and that's what you're doing to help others. And I want to thank you for everything that you've done to help others.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Definitely. Every child deserves to feel safe at home.
That's right. Hey, again, go to confrontingdomesticviolence.org. That's confrontingdomesticviolence.org. Agape, your email, how do people reach out to you?
Sure. Email is a.garcia@confrontingdomesticviolence.org. Be careful of the spelling.
Yep. And we will have that linked to the show information. So thank you. Thank you, my dear friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
What if one small act could change a life? What if your everyday purchases could support a cause? Join me for a special 3-hour podcast as we introduce incredible giving partners. Hear inspiring stories. Learn how you can shop with a purpose. And be part of a movement that turns kindness into action. Tune in, ask questions, and discover how you can pay it forward today for a better tomorrow.
I want to thank both of my guests tonight. I want to thank you for joining us. And I want to ask you a very simple favor. Please like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff that costs you nothing, but it means a lot to us because that means that we're being seen. And if we're being seen, other people are being helped. And that means everything to us. We will be coming back on live in May. Okay, right now we're recording these. We're running a little bit late on everything because, well, we're just behind right now. We're working on getting our app out. The Community Pay It Forward app will be out in approximately 3 weeks. We're looking for our partners to give us a call. We're looking for awards that we can give people when they download this app and really support others by very simply shopping with them. My name is Zach Clayton. I am the president and founder of Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the IMpACT channels. I want to remind you that every day when you look in your closet and you find something that doesn't fit you well, don't throw it away. If it's still got life, find somebody in the community that's struggling with the elements. Get it on their back. It means nothing to you. It means everything to them. If you make a little bit of extra food, throw it in the old hillbilly Tupperware. Zap it in the microwave. Means nothing to you. Means everything to them. We can do this. We can help everyone. If you're not helping someone, you are hurting everyone because no one needs to go it alone when we all come together. I want to thank you so very much. We will be back in May with some brand new shows, starting this all over again with the new Community Pay It Forward app.
Show me the way. You wanna hold the heart of Sunset Boulevard. Bring me here, 'cause it's not quite clear to be a part of Sunset Boulevard.